Welcome back. So this little hammer here, this little hammerhead, I found at a thrift. It's not a thrift store. It's a place called the Scrap Exchange. And what I'm after is the texture on the head. What it needs to be altered a little bit. I decided to get a little. For $250, I can get a little cheeky with how I decide to do things. When in the world have I ever used the word cheeky in earnest? Alright, so if I can snap this off, just do me a favor and subscribe. Awesome. If you like that bit, just stick around for more. Okay, anyway, those little bits, I don't know what I'll do with them, but I didn't throw them away. They will be saved for later. And for a $2.50 hammerhead, I really don't feel too bad for this. It's a very, very cheap hammer, and this side, I want it to be cleaned up a little. It doesn't serve any function. Maybe the back side of it could be used as a swage for different small jewelry things, but I honestly don't think it's all that useful to hammer into the back of a hammer. It would be useful to have a swage for other things, but this is not the fate of this hammer. This is the unimportant side, which honestly is getting an infinitely larger amount of work than the important side. Especially since what I'm after is the texture on the front of the hammer. This is me just having fun. It's fun to hand file, and if you watch a video where I don't hand file, then something's wrong. One of these days I'll have a 2x72-inch belt grinder set up, and the magic of that will be that I will still find reasons to hand file. Hand filing is fun, and it's a skill that you can get appreciably better at. But the head is done, and I will stop waxing poetical about hand filing, which honestly I could talk about hand filing for an hour. If you want that, you let me know, and I will, in a heartbeat. So this is this is the 5th time I've tried to record this, and nonsense like that is usually what's made me cut. But this is a piece of oak flooring that I got from a friend, and if you want a master class in how to use tools somewhat incorrectly, this is pretty close. Beveled down while trying to take off this little piece here. You know, good times. In retrospect, the spoke shave that I ended up using later probably would have taken care of that very, very quickly. But this was fun. You gotta use a hammer to make another hammer. That's all I'm saying. You could use a hammer at almost any point in time to make another hammer. So yeah, the spoke shave is going to get the job done. The first thing that I'm concerned with is fitting the eye of the hammer to the handle, and I have to make the handle shaped correctly. There's no other way around that. Even if you try to force it, which somebody does, you still have to get it down to shape. And for what it's worth, there is a lot of work being put into this. This could have been easily handled if I had a bandsaw and even a floor sander flipped upside down and put in that clamp. I cannot make dust in this room. That is, I can't make that kind of dust under power in this room. That would be super, super irresponsible of me. What is this shot, Adrian? What are you doing? I guess you can leave that in. But this is a significant amount of effort to get this handle shaped. The ugly side of the wood, that does need to be taken care of. As you can see, we are nowhere close, but we're getting there. Alright, alright. So, I don't know if I've left any of that in. I don't know if this is the take that I'm going with. But here we are. We're getting really close on the hammerhead. Probably one of the more interesting things that happened was I adjusted my chair so that my back didn't hurt. And I destroyed my entire setup. Sort of. Clearly I'm still talking. I thought that this knife would be a good idea, and it's not. At least not for this part. It's not the sharpest knife in the shed. This isn't even a shed, so there's that. And this is what I call the nuclear option. Just doing this is not smart. I mean, it's close in shape. That does not mean that this is the way to go. But it is a dumb shortcut that is fine for a hammer that weighs maybe half an ounce, maybe an ounce. I don't know. It's a very light hammer. But that being said, we're getting there, and this sort of gives me a little bit more information. The hammerhead that I'm using to hammer this hammer onto the hammerhead, that one needs a handle another time, but something tells me I shouldn't use a piece of hardwood flooring, but I still might, because I have a lot of hardwood flooring. They're a bunch of scraps that are perfect for hammer handles and other things that I need to remake again in the future because they'll break. Oak is very, very tough, but ash or hickory have been the sort of go-to hammer handle materials, especially for a working hammer. This hammer's hardly working. Look at it, just sitting there. So the little shelf that I'm cutting off of that hammerhead, every time I've left a shelf on a handle, it has absolutely broken the head off. Every handle where I've made it more flush like this, not an issue. Now that being said, this is not the kind of thing where this hammer's not going to be used for anything so stressful that I think it would pop the head off. But this is security just in case. It's not the first hit, it's the 1,000th hit after you haven't used it in a while, where something can go wrong. But since you've sat through all that, I'm not going to make you... Yeah, there we go. I'm not going to make you sit through the rest of it. But this is both fun, and it makes a lot of mess. And part of me is always a little worried that one of those shavings is going to come up and stab me in the hand. You didn't need to know that, but it's there, and we're both dealing with it. This is a significant amount of effort. This would be very, very fast with other tools, but to be perfectly honest, this is fun. If I had the room to use a draw knife, I would be using a draw knife. Bigger blade, it's all blade all the time. It's wonderful. And as fun as that is, that's pretty good. We got it roughed in. And I think it's time to get the head on there for good. Just this is something that always tickles me, is that if you hit the bottom of the hammer with the head just like partially on, this will drive it in and make it a tighter fit. So that's roughly where it'll sit. And now that I know that, I can cut a slot for the wedge and put a wedge in there with the hammer in, very important, and then it's not going anywhere. It is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Something tells me that you're not watching this on how to make a hammer handle and a hammerhead, but we'll still go through the steps regardless. This singular cut always stresses me out because I feel like most of the time I do it wrong or a little bit off, so I really just need to make 1,000 more hammers. And these little draw saws are so nice to use. I enjoy them a lot. I have more experience with them than I have with sort of American style saws. But for small work like that, it's pretty pleasant. Using a hammer to make a hammer, part 2. So yeah, again, tapping one side with the other, and making a wedge out of a small piece of scrap of something. I don't even know what kind of wood it is, and frankly it doesn't matter. But I'm going to shape it so that it is wedge-like. I'm going to split it to the right size, and then I'm going to size it one more time. Fun fact, if you hold the wrong side of the wedge and you don't keep the side that you want, there's a decent chance you'll lose it in all that mess back there. So a little glue. I don't know if the glue is entirely necessary, but I've been doing it, and frankly, don't think I've used a hammer long enough to know if it has a good effect. But as I'm putting this one in here, it tends to go in sideways. It starts to get slanty on me, and it doesn't make any sense. So, all things being what they are, it works. It's not pretty. It can be dressed up a little bit, but it works. It's not a very sharp knife. I cannot emphasize that enough. So yeah, now just a more refined pass with a Shinto rasp. Between hand filing and Shinto rasps, I would find any excuse in the world to use this on any project. It's a wonderful little tool. It's very pleasant to use. It makes nice sounds. It feels great. My hand is resting on the sharp side and it's not cutting me. It can't get clogged. It can't get clogged in a significant fashion. It got close once with plastic. I highly, highly, highly recommend them. And now just you can't really get around a little bit of hand sanding. For your sake, there's not a lot of bit of hand sanding. I'm just letting you know that I've touched it up. And as for the finish, the butcher block with wax I've been enjoying using this. It doesn't seem to have the same yellowing over time, but it still gets a really pretty color on the wood. And any excuse to oil wood, don't take that out of context, is more than good with me. So between Shinto rasps and oiling wood, if that was my job, I'd be pretty happy. But I definitely see why this is a good piece of hardwood flooring, hammer handle notwithstanding. That's a really pretty color I would want to walk on. That doesn't sound right. But this is attempt number 5 or 6. So get a little bit of wood, get a little bit of oil on all the surfaces just to protect them. It's not going to hurt nothing. And once you're happy with it, it's done. It does polish a little bit with the wax in it, but it's just so darn pretty. So, how does this thing work? Do we use it? I think we use it. Welcome a tiny piece of scrap copper. This was a offcut from a different thing. I just shaped it up kind of nice and dressed the face of it with sandpaper. And now to use this hammer, there's about 3 different ways that I found to use it. One is just trying to focus on hitting with the flat of the hammer, and that gets you one texture. And you can sort of see it a little better with the surface of the copper being a little clean. It definitely helps. But aside from just the flat of the hammer, you have the sides of the hammer and you have the corner of the hammer. So it's all around. I'm very pleased with the sort of stony look that it has to it. And as as fast as this is going, I didn't want to make you sit there and watch 5 straight minutes of hammering. I'm very pleased with how it's working. It's a lot like painting with a hammer. You have the variance in textures. You have the variance in textures as well as like the little ways that you can use it. Like you can sort of sketch out a field texture or just about anything. Anything that this hammer is capable of is pretty much on that piece of copper. It's like a little test piece, but that's it. So it's a fine little hammer. I have no problem with it. At some point, I might reshape the handle to make it a little more dainty, but it is completely unnecessary. As it is overbuilt right now, it'll last even my jackassery. So yeah, thank you for watching. That's got a pretty little pendant, and you're just gonna drop it. If you like this nonsense, please subscribe, like it. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. That's fine. But let me be honest with you, I didn't snap off that cast iron from before. I sawed it like a normal human being, and while I did ask if you would subscribe if I could snap it off, maybe subscribe anyway. Because I'm being honest with you. I didn't. And you get to do whatever the hell you want. You always did, and you always should. Also, I'm getting squeaky on you. Also, this hacksaw process is one that I used to absolutely hate, but now I like it a lot. I like hacksawing after learning that you have to clamp things to hacksaw them. And while it can make some of my least favorite noises ever, that noise means that it's vibration, and you need to get it closer to your clamp. That makes all the difference in the world. Cutting through some tiny pieces of cast iron hammer in under 2 minutes. This is a reason to not use a angle grinder for everything. Like, it's perfectly serviceable, and it's nice. And thank you for watching again. Do have a good time wherever you are. Bye.